Hello. What do you think do onions and stories have in common? Both can make you cry. Onions when you cut them, and stories when you tell them in a way that really touches people. I'm Bettina Fürlinger. I'm a communications coach, and I'm passionate for stories. And I'm quite sure that you are passionate for what you do. Whether or not you want to move your audience to tears, but I'm quite sure that you want to tell them what you really stand for, what your contribution to the world is, why you do what you do, and why this makes sense for you. And maybe you want to tell this in a way, not only using facts and figures, which are important, but sometimes they are a little bit boring, but in a way that really touches people, that is charismatic, that is inspiring, and also trustful. So let me tell you a small story about myself. I originally come from the finance sector. I have been responsible for the corporate communications of a private bank for many, many years. And quite at the beginning of my career, there was this September 11, which was a really, really crucial day for me. Of course, this event changed the whole world, but also in my small world, nothing was the same again afterwards. And I still remember we all gathered in our big meeting room when the news about the attack on the World Trade Center came through. And you can imagine a private bank, thick carpets, a big oval meeting table covered with thick brown leather, oil paintings from the bank founders on the wall. And we were all watching a screen showing when the first tower collapsed, the second tower collapsed. And I was totally confused. And at the same time, I heard the voice of my CEO saying, this is really terrible. We have to be proactive now. We have to calculate what it means for the dollar, for the yen, for the currency rates of our clients' money. And I still remember, I was thinking, he's totally right. We're a bank, and this is what a bank is about, taking care of the money of our clients. But at the same time, I realized that something felt wrong for me, that I wanted to use my creativity for something else, and that I wanted to work with companies and people who stand for something and who have a strong purpose. Companies and people like you are. So this was my small story. And before we turn to your story, let's have a brief look at why storytelling is so powerful. First of all, storytelling follows the show don't tell principle. What does this mean? It means that you don't tell things on a theoretical level, but you describe them in a way that you act like a cameraman and you show people what there is to see, what there is to hear, maybe even what they can smell, what the feelings are, what the atmosphere is like. And so they are kind of in the middle of the scenery. Yeah? Let me give you a small example. If I'm on the tell side, I could, for example, say, the view out of my place is really, really nice. And you can believe it or believe it not. If I move to the show side, I would describe it in a way like there are these soft hills at the horizon with the cypress trees in front of a soft blue sky and the shimmering sea at the left-hand side, so that you take the conclusion, oh, there must be a really nice view. And this already leads us to the next point. There is also a neuroscientific explanation why storytelling works. Because if you use pictures and stories, this addresses the limbic brain. This is the old part of our brain, the reptile brain. And your emotions are at home there, your gut feeling, pictures are being dealt with here. And whatever addresses this part of the brain works like kind of flight simulator. For example, if you hear or read about the scent of a rose, this is being processed in the sensory part of your brain, and it is as if you were smelling the rose yourself. And this is how people learn and how we create awareness, impact, and even a change in attitude. And moreover, according to studies at Stanford Graduate School of Business, whatever you tell with a story is remembered 20 times more than if you just use facts and figures, theoretical and abstract content, and even values, because values are also abstract. Because all this addresses the neocortex of our brain. So what is the conclusion? In our digital world, with this huge information overload, it's the stories, and most of all, personal stories that really touch people and move people. So what is our takeaway? When you tell stories, you follow the show don't tell principle. Our brain loves stories because stories address emotions, and stories are remembered 20 times more than when you just use facts and figures. And moreover, when you tell stories, your goal is not to convince people to believe you, but you invite them and you empower them to take their own conclusions, to follow you, to be inspired by you, and to believe you. So don't you think it's high time that you find and tell your own story? So join us to the next video of this series, and let's have a look at what the elements of a story are and how you can find the hook for your own story.